Ruckus ICX switches. And today I'm very excited about being able to introduce to you the Ruckus ICX 7650 switch. It's a brand new switch in our portfolio, and I think it'll add a lot to the solutions that you're providing to our customers. So let's see. All right, I'm going, there we go. Sorry. What I'm going to cover today is, as I said, introduce the ICX 7650 to you, a little bit about the background, about what kind of solutions we're trying to address with this product, what the switch is, who it's targeted for, how we position against the competition, and then the timeline for the release of the product. So this is an advanced presentation for our channel partners before a public announcement of it. And then I think that switch makes a pretty significant change to our switch portfolio. So after I go through the switch, I also want to talk a little bit about where this fits on the portfolio and which one of the switches that you might sell in different situations and how we sell it. And then, of course, at the end, be happy to answer your questions about the product. So before I get started, and Zoe, if you could bring up the poll. What I wanted to do is just bear with us, please, because both for Zoe and I, this is the first time we've done polling in a presentation. But what we wanted to do was just get an understanding of how familiar you are with our existing ICX switch families. If you're familiar with them, it'll allow me to adjust my presentation a little bit to go into, if you are familiar with it, I won't spend a lot of time going into a lot of detail. But if you could answer the poll that should be showing up on your screen now about, as I said, how familiar you are with the switches, whether you're very comfortable, you have a good understanding of our portfolio, kind of a yes, somewhat familiar, know a little bit about them, but not a lot. Also, or just a little bit about the switches and don't know a lot of detail, or just you're brand new to the ICX. So if you could pick one of those four and hit the submit button on the bottom, we would greatly appreciate that. And I'm stalling here for just a moment or two until we get the results of our poll. Hopefully we had time to do that. And as I said, just get a little familiar with what you do. So I appreciate your input on this. Zoe, if we're I can't see the control panel, but if you're feel like we're done, you can hit the close whenever you feel like we've stopped getting input on it, and then we'll show the results of that. Or we're running through a little bit of time on that. I know it very well. So polls ended. Can we share the results with everybody here? I don't know if that's being shown or not. I don't see it on my screen.
I'm trying to, see how can we post the result, okay?
Yeah, but please appreciate your, here we go. All right. Yep. So, well, looks like we got a lot of no answers, but looks like a little bit of a mix and match, but not a lot of people really familiar. So thank you very much, and let me continue with the presentation. So close that. All right. So first of all, we're really addressing the ICX 7650 is really addresses two major solution sets. The first is at the network edge, so the access level connection. And we really wanted to come out with a new advanced switch. So what we were looking at is we're seeing, as I'm sure you are, more and more customers implementing more and more wireless access points. So it's not just more and more ports, but it's also, access points that are faster, moving from 802.11n to 11AC to 11AC Wave 2, but with more users, more devices. Our customers are moving into the next generation of APs, and in fact getting ready for 802.11ax, which will be coming out next year. So it's a higher performance new generation of access points. It's lots more and more access points. We're also seeing not just wireless, but also a lot more use of video in schools, in businesses, and all sorts of applications, more demand on the access. Because of a lot of use of cloud-based applications, it becomes more and more important to have a low latency switch so that all of those users, all those devices get good responses. It's important not to have oversubscription so we can support all of those users and devices. Again, more dependency on it, so we need something with high reliability. We need something that supports security, but we also see that our customers are looking for switches that will last for 5 to 7 years and sometimes 10. So it's important to include additional features here that provide future proofing so that they'll be able to use this switch for many years to come. So in terms of what they're looking for, those are requirements. And what we felt we needed to deliver a switch was, because of the new high-speed access points coming in the next couple of years, we wanted to add multi-gigabit support. So support for the 2.5, 5, and 10 gig Ethernet ports. We're also seeing such big demand that we wanted to deliver not just 40 gig, but also 100 gig uplinks and stacking to the closet. And in fact, the ICX switches under Brocade and Ruckus, we were the first to deliver 40 gig to the closet. We're now going to be the first to deliver 100 gig to the closet. PoE power, very important, again, because of lots of access points, voice over IP phones, new IP video, IPTV and video, really big demand on PoE power. So not only do we need to have a high PoE budget, but we also need to support the next generation of devices. So not just PoE plus with 30 watts, not even what our competitors do in 60 watts, but we're going all the way to 90 watts. And so this is going to support the IEEE 802.3 BT standard, which is currently pending, but we expect to have approval, their ratification of that early next year. So this device will come out supporting that. In addition, high availability. So it comes with dual power supplies and fans. You want hitless failover, and you want in-service software upgrades, ISSU. So all of those things we wanted to put into a device to meet those kind of demands. In addition, we also really needed something to provide some additional capabilities in aggregation and core, and particularly for what we think of as small and medium deployments. We have a very powerful high-end aggregation core switch in our ICX 7750, but for a lot of customers, it's a little bit expensive and it's sort of overkill. So what we heard from our customers was they wanted something with high performance but at an affordable price, but with all of the capabilities of a high-end core. So that meant high availability, it meant advanced layer 3 features. We want all of the things we provide in simplified management, no oversubscription, and of course, high levels of security. I know that since I've been with Brocade and Ruckus, which is almost 4 years now, I've been hearing our customers ask and say they love our ICX 7750, but what they wanted was a 24-port version of it, something that's a little bit smaller. So what we wanted to do was come up with a product that would provide that great performance. So again, adding 100 gigabit uplink and stacking capability. Full layer 3 features, so on a par with the ICX 7750. We also heard from a lot of our customers that they wanted support for LRM optics, which we find in a lot of existing legacy environments that have the OM1 and OM2 fiber. Again, high availability with dual power supplies and fans, hitless failover, ISSU. And the other thing that we've heard is that today with a campus fabric solution, the only control bridge or the brains of the campus fabric is an ICX 7750. So we wanted to come out with a slightly, smaller size control bridge that could run a campus fabric, but a little bit smaller configuration and a little bit more expensive. So that's really what we put together. So there's sort of the targets we were going after. And so I'm very excited to introduce the ICX 7650. Now, it's going to come out, there are 3 models of this switch. There are 2 access versions. The first one, this ICX 7650 48ZP, or we refer to it as the Z series, is a 48-port switch. It's going to have 24 multi-gigabit. Now, this one, as I said, is going to have 2.5, 5, and 10 gigabit ports, all with PoE Plus and this 802.3BT, the 90 watts of PoE power on there. In addition, it'll have another 24 ports with 1 gig ports, also with PoE Plus. So a very high-end performance multi-gigabit switch. The companion switch, the 7650-48P, is a straight 48-port, all 1 gigabit ports, all with PoE Plus, although 8 of the ports do also include the 802.3BT standard. So we think that that's important because we know that there are more and more devices that either need or at least can take advantage of more than the 30 watts available in PoE Plus. So we thought that that was important to provide that capability to get the full performance and full capabilities of the advanced access points, as well as there are a series of other devices that can use more power, like advanced video cameras and large video displays. As I mentioned, this 90-watt standard is also compatible with the Cisco UPoE. So anything that recognizes it can use the 60 watts of power will also work on these advanced 802.3BT ports. So we're very excited about those capabilities. In addition, we have a third model, the 7650-48F, which is a 48-port fiber version for medium core and aggregation. It will provide 24 10-gig SFP plus ports and 24 1-gig SFP ports. So a great solution for high-performance aggregation of up to 24 ports with 10 gig. So all 3 models, and all of these switches, all of these models offer, in addition to those specific features, they all have the option for 40 gigabit or 100 gigabit for uplink and stacking ports. Those are fixed ports on the rear of the switch. As with a lot of our other access switches, the great thing about it is that this is fully compatible and easily upgradable from 40 to 10 gig. So if you implement one of these switches, you put it in with a 40 gigabit backbone connection. If you want to, at a later date, upgrade to 100 gig simply with a configuration option. No hardware replacement, no additional software, no additional license. So, as I said, they have 40 and 100 gig ports on the back of the switch. In addition, we also offer an optional uplink module, which actually goes physically in the front of it, and that can either have 4 10 gig ports, 2 40 gig ports, or 100 gig ports. So a way to upgrade that switch with those optional modules depending on what your requirements are. All these models include dual hot swappable power supplies and fans. They have advanced layer 3 services, as I said, comparable to our highest ICX 7750. In addition, it supports 256-bit or 128-bit MACsec on the 10 gig ports. And in addition, it can work in a campus fabric either as the control bridge, sort of the brains of a campus fabric, or as what we call a port extender. So if you have, say, ICX 7750s in the core, you can attach an ICX 7650 to it as an access switch to connect to it. Now, the campus fabric software will not be available when we initially release the product, but it will be available approximately 4 to 6 months after initial shipment. So that that software feature will get added to the switch. If you purchase the switch at initial release, it'll be a simple software upgrade to be able to add that to it. So a really powerful switch that we are adding to our portfolio, very extensive with a lot of capabilities. So, so let's take a little look at this in terms of, I talked a little bit about the features of the switch, about where we think it'll fit. So the access switch, the multi-gigabit, and then straight 1 gigabit switch. So we think that this will be a really good fit. You may be finding, we're finding more and more customers who are requiring, who have an RFP, a request for proposal, and they are requiring to deliver 2.5, 5, and 10 gigabit. We now have a solution for that. We're seeing more and more customers, customers who are implementing very high density wireless deployments, who have large numbers of users and large devices and a large number of access points. This could be a good solution. Currently, the state of the art is 802.11ac Wave 2 access points, and really 2.5 gigabit is fine for those things, but for customers who anticipate moving to 802.11ax or future deployments, because of course these switches are typically used for several years, customers want to be able to know that they will support this. So if they are expecting to upgrade their wireless, in the near future, this could be a good fit. Customers just in general who need very high performance, have low latency requirements, across their networks, really important. And of course, ultimate future proofing, that you can go to 100 gigabit, that you can go to 5 and 10 gigabit access. This really gives you everything state of the art. I think it meets or beats anything on the market today from any vendor. In terms of vertical markets, we think that this will be a big hit in higher education and colleges, particularly people that have high performance requirements in research and labs who need that 40 and 100 gigabit backbone. For small and medium enterprise, great solution for big environments with a lot of users. Large public venues, people that have a large number of access points with a lot of users who need a lot of throughput. We also think that this will be an excellent fit for government markets that tend to buy fairly high-end solutions who have big demands and large networks. So these are things where we think this switch in particular will be really a big hit. In terms of the aggregation switch, so that 24 10 gig ports and 10 1 gig ports, we think that this is really going to be ideal for small to medium site deployments. So not somebody where the ICX 7750 would be nice, but kind of more than they really need. Customers who need high performance and low latency in aggregation. It's going to be great for our customers who are starting to deploy the access switches like our ICX 7150 and 7250 with 10 gig uplinks. So connecting to an ICX 7650 at the aggregation for all of those access switches. Also for customers who are looking at Campus Fabric as a way to expand and simplify their management, this aggregation switch could be the control bridge for Campus Fabric in the not too distant future as their network grows. In terms of vertical markets, again, small medium enterprise where you have a medium-sized deployment, not huge, but really a good fit. I think for primary education, see this as a great fit where we have I have to apologize, I'm mostly familiar with the U.S., but where we have a lot of schools that are very price sensitive, who don't have huge networks, but you could run a pretty decent sized school with an ICX 7650 as the aggregation at each school, perhaps network together at a district or county type area, regional area with a 7750 at the core. So small and medium higher education institutions, again, that have modest deployments who want to be able to aggregate, say, up to 24 10 gig access points with maybe some additional 1 gig connections to to the core. For hospitality and multiple dwelling units, I think, they tend to be very price sensitive, smaller configurations, a great high performance aggregation switch for them. And distributed enterprise, maybe enterprises that are overall very large but individually have, medium-sized offices that might not need a large number of access switches aggregated together. So again, a great high-performance aggregation switch, but not necessarily in the largest deployment. So these are some of the places where we think that we see that customers will do that. I think that the access switch, as I said, is very much geared for high-performance, high-density wireless and building for the future. I think the ICX 7650 aggregation switch, personally, I expect that we're going to sell a lot of those. I think that this is going to be an ideal fit there where the ICX 7450 was not quite enough, but the ICX 7750 was perhaps, more than a lot of customers will need. So I expect to see, a lot of demand for this switch, and we're very excited about bringing that to market. So that's kind of a start in terms of the switch. I wanted to talk a little bit about the competition, but in that context, and Zoe, if I could ask you to bring up the next poll while I'm talking about this stuff. The next thing I wanted to do was I wanted to talk about how we position these switches against our, the key competitive switches, and you should see up on here on your screen now a poll that is just what I wanted to do was, oops, it just disappeared, is just, how familiar you are with our value proposition of the ICX switches, and again, how much time you want me to spend talking about it. But we have one of the things I think is the key differentiators between the Ruckus ICX switches and our competitors is not just the specific features and feeds and speeds and numbers of ports and capabilities, but it's about the ICX family and all of the things that our switches offer that our competitors don't. So it's things like the, price performance options. It's about our advanced stacking features that where we can stack to 12 and competitors can't do more than 8, about the fact that we provide ISSU in a stacking environment. Zoe, are we getting the poll up? I saw it for a moment, but it kind of disappeared here. So I'm hoping that.
Can you hear? Can you see it now? So for my end,
I cannot. I don't know if anybody else can, but I had it up on my other screen, and I don't. It came up for a second and disappeared. So I'll talk for a moment. If we get it, great. If not, again, I apologize for this. We're a little bit of a, I'm not an expert in polling in WebEx. All right. Anyway, so a lot of things that we offer in terms of simplified management with Campus Fabric, and of course a lot about upgradability and flexibility. I talked a little bit here about how the ICX 7650, you can upgrade the uplinks from 40 to 100 gig with no change. Our entry-level access, which is the 7150 and 7250, are upgradable from 1 to 10 gigabit. So again, this is a really great feature because we find a lot of customers that want to be able to, buy the entry level, have a 1 gig connection. As load increases, upgrade to 10 gig. You can do that with our entry-level switches with a simple license upgrade, whereas our competitors to upgrade, there we go, I see the poll now, or our competitors, you typically have to replace a hardware module or in a lot of cases just throw out your existing switching and buy a new one. So a lot of the capabilities of ICX is about flexibility to be able to upgrade and expand your networks with without having to replace it. So our competitor's strategy is what we call rip and replace. If you want to upgrade, you got to throw out what you got and buy new stuff. With Ruckus ICX, we give you the features and ability to scale and grow your network and build upon what you have so that they will last for a large number of years without having to replace it. So if, again, what I'm asking is, are you familiar with these advantages? Do you know them really well, somewhat familiar? You know a little bit about them. or you don't know anything at all, just to get a feel for how familiar you are with those advantages, now that I've gone through most of them as well. So, so I'll do that. And Zoe, when you see the answers stopping to come in, if you could close it and
yeah, the audience still answering, so I will leave it another
well,
few minutes.
I'm going to continue on for a little bit while you're doing that poll, because I think I don't want to just stall completely here, but when that time is up, you'll do it, and I'll address that stuff. But let me talk a little bit about the competitive to the ICX 7650. So the first is really, I wanted to start with the access, the Z series, the multi-gigabit access switch, the 7650/48ZP. And what we see really is the competition here is really, you know, our biggest competitors typically are Cisco and HP Aruba worldwide. Cisco's really has, our primary competition for this switch has been the Cisco 3850. And if you've been in the market, you're probably familiar with this switch, because it's been out there a while. The other thing is, and actually this is fairly new, Cisco just introduced the Cisco 9300. So they also have a 40 gigabit switch. So, okay, great. So we got, I'm going to go back here to the poll results. Thank you. Looks like a lot of you know a bit about the ICX. So we got kind of a mix here as well. So thank you very much. I get a feel for what you know. I've kind of gone through a lot of those things, but that'll help too. So again, so let me talk about the multi-gigabit. So the Cisco 3850 and the 9300, HP Aruba does have an access switch in here, the Aruba 3810M, but you know, as I started to compare, it is slightly less expensive, but it's a very, I have to say, it's really a weak offering. It doesn't offer anywhere near as many multi-gigabit ports. And in fact, the ICX 7150 Z series multi-gigabit switch is actually probably a lot closer comparison. So I did not include the Aruba competitive switch in here because really I don't think it was a fair comparison, because it just doesn't, it's not in the same class as this thing. So these are the key competitors against. In terms of characteristics, you know, this is where we're going. All three of these, the ICX 7650 Z series, the Cisco 3850, and the Cisco 9300, all offer 24 multi-gigabit ports. So these are kind of expanding on the full multi-gigabit ports. The 7650, in addition, gives you another 24 1-gig ports. The other two Cisco switches do not. In terms of uplinks, you know, they offer 40 gig uplinks. The 7650 offers 40 gig or 100 gig uplinks, 200 gig uplinks. So we really can match the throughput. If you start loading up, you get next generation access points and really a lot of performance. You know, you're going to start hitting some bottlenecks with the Cisco switches. And what I've done is I put together a list price configured. This is a list price with 2 power supplies, 2 fans, and with 10 gigabit uplinks, just to sort of do a comparison. Even though we offer 40 and 100 gig uplinks, we wanted a price comparison. You can see here that we are 15 to 25% less than the comparable Cisco switches. We are actually you know, so we've got them beat on pricing, but we've also got them beat by having additional multi-gig ports and uplinks. But as I started by saying beforehand, it's not just about the feeds and speeds on the switch. It's also all the things that our switch offers that Cisco does not. We've got campus fabric. We've got the ability to upgrade the switch. We've got much more powerful stacking features, ISSU, flexible deployments, simplified management, open flow with hybrid port mode, and a much lower total cost ownership. So it's not just about price and it's not about features. Even though we can meet or beat them on that, it's really all of those things in that little box on the right that I think really help differentiate why we're confident that Ruckus offers a better solution. And not only that, we can beat them on specs and on price. So I think this is a great product, and we're very excited about bringing this out to market. On the aggregation side, it's also kind of similar here. The ICX 7650 48F, or 48-port fiber. Again, it competes with a fiber version of the Cisco 3850. That's been our primary comparison with it. Cisco has now come out with the 9500, which is probably actually a little bit more comparable to the ICX 7750, because it does admittedly have more 10 gig aggregation ports on it. But so we have, we meet the same number of ports as the 3850, but we also offer 24 1-gig ports. And then again, with the uplinks, both of the Cisco switches are limited to 40 gig uplinks. The 7650 gives you 40 gig and 100 gig uplinks. And the pricing, again, these are prices with 2 power supplies and fans and 10 gig uplinks, is significantly less. And not only that, if you look at the number for the Cisco 9500, their switch is more expensive at $24,000, but they also have, they require you to buy the Cisco DNA license with the product, and unfortunately I don't have the pricing, so it actually, the real pricing of that the 9500 is actually quite a bit more. It's probably more, $25,000 to $30,000, probably closer to $30,000 for that switch. I just don't have the number, but even the raw hardware is 33% more expensive than 7650. So I think we've offered a really great medium aggregation switch. As I said, the Cisco 9500 is kind of between that and the 7750, but we really kind of go right head-to-head with the Cisco 3850. And I think that, we have the same number of 10 gig ports. We're basically getting 24 1-gig ports for free, better uplinks, and a much lower price. So a lot more features there, but I think hopefully gives you a positioning and where we've done it, and we can meet those products. So hopefully that gives you a good idea about where it fits and how we're positioned against our competition. And again, all of the ICX advantages that no one else can offer. So let me talk a little bit about the delivery of the product. Announcement obviously to the channel is today. I should also say that as of today, there is on the Ruckus partner portal, there is a preliminary data sheet. I emphasize preliminary. There's not all information is there. There may be some things that might change by the time we ship, but at least should give you a pretty good feel for the specifications of the switch. There's also an updated sales guide. If you're familiar with that, it's just a 2-page document that gives you a summary of our whole portfolio and the features of all the switches and the key competitive, which switches it competes with and the key messages and the benefits of the product. So that stuff is there, as well as a copy of these slides will be available on the partner portal within a couple of days. So we've got some preliminary information out there today. Our public announcement is scheduled for November 7th. At that time, we'll do some press and analyst briefings. We'll have information publicly available on our website. We'll have a final product data sheet at that time. We'll also have detailed pricing available, and you will be able to, information to be able to provide quotes on the product. I don't have an exact date, but hopefully in December, worst case in January, we should have it officially on our all the prices on our price list, and it will be orderable. So you're not going to be able to place orders for it until that time, but you will be able to quote it as of beginning of November. We're currently targeted to ship the product. The GA is in the first quarter of 2018. Where target is to be able to do first customer ship in January. I don't have an exact date on that, but then volume shipment before the end of the first quarter. So we're giving you a briefing now. You'll be able to quote it in November. You'll be able to place some orders around the end of the year with delivery in the first quarter. So we're excited about that. And then, as I mentioned, the campus fabric support will not be available when it ships, but looking at 4 to 6 months down the road to be able to add that software capability. There are also a couple of other features that I know are on the roadmap to get added in that time frame. So, again, I think that it's prime. We want to let you know about it coming very soon. So that's kind of, oh, sorry, I apologize. I had this all in the next. I just repeated what's on the next slide. I think I covered all that. As mentioned in November, in addition to final brochure, we'll have a family brochure. And while you'll have these slides for you available within a couple of days on the portal, in November we will have a complete customer presentation about the entire ICX family, including the 7650, available on the partner portal in November. So that's what's coming. So that's the 7650 in a quick snapshot. I would like to, I just wanted to see, talk about the switch portfolio in its totality. I get very excited about new products. The thing here is that less than, I guess, 6 months ago, our access switches, we really had two, the ICX 7250 and the 7450. And in the last 6 months, we've introduced several new access switches, and so now you've got a really good choice, and I think that you've got a lot of good options for you. So I wanted to really do, in the sales guide, there's a little bit more detail about features. Certainly in the family brochure that'll be out next month, there'll be a lot more detail, but I wanted to just give you a picture of positioning of our various switches. So the ICX 7650, and specifically the Z series, which is the multi-gigabit switch, on the access side, that's the top of the line switch. It is top performance. It offers the multi-gigabit 2.5, 5, and 10 that customers have been, asking about. This is really everything that customers should want in a switch, and it is state-of-the-art today. Uplinks up to 100 gig. Nobody else offers it in an access switch. Full multi-gigabit, hot swap power supplies. Obviously, the price is a little bit more. What I've got along the bottom is list price for a fully configured 48-port version with PoE, with one power supply and one fan. So the 7650, top of the line. The ICX 7450, which had been our top, is obviously a very high performance switch. It offers 40 gig. It's really a lot of switch, great value for money. Its key differentiator is it has those, if you're familiar with it, it has the modular upgrades. It has capability for 3 modules that can either be 1, 10, or 40 gigabits. So you can get up to 3 40 gigabit uplink ports on that. The 7450 doesn't really offer a multi-gigabit option. It does have hot swap power supplies and fans, a little bit less expensive than the 7650. I think for a lot of customers, the difference may not be enough. A lot, you get a lot more with a 7650. You get higher performance, and if you go for the multi-gigabit, obviously, the full multi-gigabit is something you don't get in any of our switches. Our ICX 7150 Z series was the switch we just introduced in May. We started shipping over the summer. That is really an affordable multi-gigabit switch, and so I think that you need to think about for your customers, if you need high performance, that offers just a 2.5 gig multi-gig. I think that certainly for 802.11ac, that's really all you need, and probably for some period of time. So it's a great switch that offers a 2.5 multi-gig. It's the only multi-gigabit switch that's available in an entry level. Everybody else is like our 7650, Cisco, HP, HP Aruba, they only offer multi-gigabit in their very most expensive switches. We've got it an entry-level switch. And it also comes with dual power supplies and fans. It's only 10 gig uplinks, but it can do 8 of them. As I said, hot swap power supplies and fan, it's a great value for money. So we're very excited about this switch. We've gotten some very big, exciting initial demand for it. The orders are looking pretty good, we're starting to see a lot of interest in that switch. The ICX 7250, that's really been our high volume access switch. It's, I define it as a workhorse. It's got good performance. It can beat, our competitors' 1 gigabit switches out there with better performance, more features, advanced stacking, campus fabric. It does not have hot swappable power supplies and fans. It does have an external module for redundant power and additional PoE power. We sell more ICX 7250 switches than any other switch in our portfolio. So that's our highest quantity switch. We'll see what happens as we go down the road, but it's been a really good performance. And then the ICX 7150, which was introduced at the beginning of the year, is really a basic access switch, entry level, really for the budget conscious. It's a great, super value for money. It's inexpensive. For the competition, it's much stronger than the competition. It offers more than other switches in its price range, but it doesn't offer as much as the 7250 or 7150 Z series in that it's limited to 4 10 gigabit uplinks for stacking or uplinks. So it's good. It's limited in that capabilities. There's not redundant power, and there's no multi-gigabit option. So you got a full range of switches, and you've really got a whole family of switches in 20. Most of these, 7650 is only 48. The rest of them are available in 24 or 48 port configurations. So a great, a great collection of switches. It really gives you a broad range from the budget-conscious 7150 all the way up to the top of the line 7650 that really gives you everything you want and then everything in between. So I think you have a great solution there. Now, in the aggregation and core, this is, in fact, is where the 7650 makes a huge difference. So hopefully you're familiar. Our ICX 7750. High-end, large core and aggregation switch. It is still, this switch has been shipping for 5 years now. It is still the highest density 10 gig and 40 gig 1RU switch out in the marketplace today. So it offers you can do 26 40 gig ports in a switch, or 48 10 gig, or with breakout cables, you can actually do 96 10 gig ports in a 1RU box. It's a great performance solution. If you stack it up to 12, distance stacking, this thing can meet or beat our competitors' chassis with comparable power and performance and reliability at a fraction of the cost with all the flexibility of stackable switches. High stacking capacity, great layer 3 features, control bridge, a great solution. The 7650, I think it fills a really, a gap. I hate to call it a gap, but a niche in our portfolio, really for that medium aggregation, particularly up to 24 10 gig ports. It can do uplinks up to 40 and 100 gig. You can see with the switching capacity, it's a great high performance aggregation switch with a lot of low latency and high performance. It's not quite the power of the 7750, which really still can beat it. Actually, better layer 3 routing is probably incorrect. It really has, it's going to have comparable features to the 7750. It will be functioning as a campus fabric control bridge in a subsequent release of the software, a bit less expensive. So again, price, of course, is always an object with customers. And then for smaller configurations, the ICX 7450 for small aggregation, 1 gig uplinks, a good cost-effective solution. Obviously not as much performance as the other two switches, a great small core and aggregation switch. So again, now we've got a great selection of aggregation core switches, again, to fit you and your customers' needs. I think we have a great portfolio of options available. So that's the portfolio. Hopefully most of this are familiar. We really would like to encourage you not to sell just on feeds and speeds, but also on value. The fact that our Ruckus switches, we can meet or beat our competition on features and on price, but it's really the things like our campus fabric, the flexibility to upgrade deployment options, to upgrade the uplinks, the stacking capabilities to 12 with high availability, and now our multi-gigabit options. Again, most of our competitors offer 2.55 and 10 gigabit multi-gig on their top of the line. We also offer, a more affordable 2.5 gig multi-gig option. So we've got some flexibility for you and your customers. Obviously, we also want to sell the complete portfolio. It's not just about switches, it's about optics, It's about our pairing with our wireless portfolio, services, and security with CloudPath together. I think we give you a great optimized wired and wireless portfolio with great policy and security, unified management, reporting, a great solution for you and your customers. So that's you know, something that we think it's more than just the features of the switch, but I think the 7650, I hope you'll agree, the ICX 7650 really adds a great solution at the high end, multi-gigabit, and an awesome, you know, medium aggregation core solution that we haven't had, will really allow you to be a lot more price competitive in your marketplace. And so if I remember correctly, that's my last slide. And I'd like to open it up for any questions you might have. Okay, sorry, I'm just bringing this thing up. Would encourage you to ask questions in the Q&A panel. Let's see, I got one question. Question about how many APs can we support at 30 watts? Well, the ICX 7650, both the 48, the 1 gig model and the multi-gig model, with the dual power supplies, can support a PoE budget of it's not 1500. It's 14. No, it is 1500 watts. So you can do PoE plus 30 watts on all 48 ports. Now, of course, on 24 of the ports, we actually can support up to 90 watts. So if you add it all up, we can do 30 watts on all 48 ports. If you start using a lot higher PoE budget on some of those, the multi-gigabit ports, or the power over HD base T, the 802.3 BT, 90 watts, you can use that up a little bit faster. But you should be able to put 48 APs. I know I talked to a customer who's running on one of our switches, has got 30 access points running off of one, actually it's one of our 7450s with great performance and no issues. So we think you should be able to support, you know, a pretty high density of access points on an individual switch. Really, you could do the whole switch. How many module slots on the ICX 7650? The ICX 7650 only has one module slot. The way the switch is configured, and you can see it in the data sheet that's on there, the back of the switch comes standard with 4 ports that can be either used as 4 40-gig ports for stacking or 2 100-gig ports. If you are using the ports on the back for stacking, and that's really what the module in front is for. If you use the modules, if you use the ports in back for uplinks, then you can't use the front module. But if you're using stacking at either 40 or 100 gig out the back ports, you can use the one slot in the front for uplinks. So there's just one module. There are different modules. There's a 100 gig module, which just has one port, a 40 gig module, which has 2 ports, or a 10 gig module that has 4 ports. So again, all the details are on the data sheet on the partner portal if you want to get into it a little bit more. Okay, anything else? See, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I forgot to mention. No, I think I already told you I was very excited about the switch. I think it's, you know, we've had a lot of interest in it already. We're very excited about being able to open up the orderability very soon. We are, actually, if you have customers interested, contact your partner manager. We are starting to look for beta sites probably towards the end of the year. We'll be looking for sites to do some beta testing of this switch. So if you have any customers that, you know, are good partners, are good opportunities who would really exercise this switch, please contact us as potential beta sites. As I said, there are a number of people looking at it. I think the, you know, of course, our own team is very much excited about, because of our heavy dependence or heavy interdependence with our wireless team. You know, our wireless team is one of our key beta sites to be testing this switch with both our current access points as well as some of the new access points that'll be coming out over the next few months. Okay. I don't see any other questions. Is the 90 watts power distributed individually per port? Actually, yes. Well, if I understand the correct, the point is on the ports there are. For example, on the multi-gigabit port, all of the switch, all of the multi-gigabit ports can support up to 90 watts on each of those ports, and then PoE plus or 30 watts power on the other 24 ports. So the way it works is that it can allocate up to 90 watts. It kind of does that. You know, handshaking with the device. So if, for example, you plug a device into it that only uses 30 watts, then it only needs 30 watts. It'll only use 30 watts. But if it needs more, it will give it to it. But you can do up to 90 watts on each of those ports. And it's allocated across the entire PoE budget of 1,500 watts. So I hope that makes sense. Unless there are others, I would say thank you for your time. I appreciate your attending the webinar today. As I said, there's some information on it on the partner portal. There'll be more information added in November. As I said, just as a caution, the data sheet that's out there right now is preliminary. Some of the specifications may change. There are a few things that we don't have all the details on yet. We're just starting to get units for testing available, but we wanted to make sure that you got the basic information about the switch in terms of its capabilities and its configurations. But you know, that may change slightly between now and when we actually ship the product. But as I said, we're very excited about it. I think it offers a lot of additional opportunities for both high-end, high-density wireless, high performance, as well as a medium aggregation, which I personally think should be a very popular switch.
Okay, thank you, Wick. With that, we can wrap up the webinar, and thank you for everyone to join the webinar. As mentioned earlier, we will send out the recording and the deck in the next few days, and we look forward to seeing you again in the next partner webinar, which will be in next Tuesday, 11 a.m. Singapore time, which is about the announcing new Ruckus partner program. So we see you again, and thank you very much. Have a good day.